Calm is not the absence of power, it is the evidence of it. The calm person is not relaxed because they are harmless. They are calm because they are in control. While others reveal intention through emotion, the calm individual reveals nothing. They do not rush, explain, justify, or defend. This creates imbalance. People cannot read them, cannot predict their next move. In rooms ruled by ego and reaction, calm becomes dominant, silence becomes authority, stillness becomes threat. Most people misunderstand danger. They look for aggression, volume, visible ambition. They assume power announces itself. That assumption is why calm people win. Calm people see more because they are not busy reacting. They gather information while others leak it. They wait while others rush. They decide while others explain. When pressure rises, the calm person does not change, and that tells everyone else who actually controls the situation. Emotional people are easy to move, calm people are not. That is why they are feared. Human nature is wired to test limits. Loud people invite confrontation, calm people invite caution. You don't know what they tolerate, what they plan, or how far they're willing to go. That uncertainty forces respect. Calm people do not threaten. They let possibility do the work. They don't need to prove intelligence or strength. Their restraint signals confidence backed by capacity. By the time others realize the calm person was observing everything, the position has already shifted. If you're still watching, comment "silent power" so I know who understands this mindset. Subscribe to Dark Psychology Blueprint, turn on notifications, and stay with the channel because the next lesson breaks down how silent power is built, protected, and used without ever raising your voice. Calm hides intention and reveals nothing. Calm is not a personality trait, it is a position. When you remain calm, you deny others access to your inner state. They cannot see what you want, what you fear, or what you plan to do next. Emotion leaks information. Excitement reveals desire. Anger reveals vulnerability. Anxiety reveals urgency. Calm reveals nothing. This is why calm people are difficult to read and even harder to manipulate. They do not signal direction. They do not confirm assumptions. They do not reward provocation. The absence of visible reaction forces others to guess, and guessing creates error. In any environment where power is contested, the one who reveals least controls the most. Most people communicate far more than they realize through tone, posture, facial expression, and speed of response. Calm shuts all of that down. When you respond slowly, evenly, or not at all, you remove the reference points others rely on to assess leverage. They don't know if you agree, disagree, plan to act, or plan to wait. This uncertainty destabilizes them. They become cautious, restrained, and overly attentive. They begin adjusting their behavior to avoid triggering a response they cannot predict. Calm forces others to regulate themselves around you. That alone is a form of control. Calm also prevents premature commitment. When you react emotionally, you lock yourself into a position. You show where you stand before you fully understand the field. Calm keeps your options open. You observe longer, you gather more information. You allow others to reveal priorities, alliances, and weaknesses, while you remain unexposed. The calm person is never rushed into a decision because nothing in their behavior suggests urgency. This frustrates aggressive personalities who rely on speed and pressure to dominate. They cannot push what does not move. They cannot intimidate what does not react. This is why calm people are dangerous. Not because they are passive, but because they are concealed. You never know what they are preparing or when they will act. Their silence is not absence, it is discipline. By the time they move, the outcome is already shaped. Others mistake calm for indifference until it is too late. In reality, calm is the most controlled state a person can occupy. It hides intention, protects leverage, and forces the environment to adapt to them, not the other way around. They observe while others expose themselves. Observation is power because it requires no risk. When you stay quiet and attentive, others reveal more than they intend. They talk to fill silence, to assert dominance, to seek validation, or to control the narrative. In doing so, they expose priorities, insecurities, ambitions, and weaknesses. Most people cannot tolerate uncertainty, so they compensate with speech. The calm observer does not interrupt this process. You allow them to speak freely, knowing that every word is information. While they believe they are leading the interaction, they are actually revealing themselves. You gain insight without offering anything in return. People expose themselves fastest when they feel unchallenged. When you don't react, argue, or correct, they relax. They assume agreement or indifference. They stop filtering. This is when truth appears. They contradict themselves. They exaggerate. They admit frustrations. They reveal who they resent, what they fear losing, and what they secretly want. Observation turns conversations into intelligence gathering. You see patterns others miss because they are too busy participating. You notice tone changes, defensive shifts, repeated themes. The calm observer reads the room while everyone else is busy performing inside it. Exposure is not limited to words. Behavior speaks louder. You watch how people treat those beneath them, how they react to pressure, how they handle disagreement. You see who becomes aggressive, who becomes passive, who seeks approval, who seeks control. These reactions map character accurately. The Machiavellian understands that people reveal themselves most clearly when they believe no judgment is occurring. By withholding reaction, you create the illusion of safety. They drop their guard. You gain clarity. This is why observers always hold advantage over participants. They collect data while remaining invisible. When others expose themselves, you don't rush to act. You store information. You wait. Knowledge becomes leverage only when timed correctly. The calm observer never reveals what they know until it benefits them. Others move impulsively based on emotion. You move deliberately based on understanding. By the time you speak or act, the situation has already been decided in your favor. This is the silent danger of the calm person. While others express, explain, and expose, you observe. And observation, used patiently, becomes dominance. They are not reactive, which makes them unmanageable. Reactivity is the primary handle through which people are controlled. If someone can trigger your anger, urgency, guilt, or fear, they can move you. Calm people remove that handle completely. They do not respond on impulse. They do not mirror emotion, and they do not rush to defend themselves. This makes them difficult to direct, pressure, or manipulate. Others cannot predict what reaction will follow because there often is none. In power dynamics, predictability is weakness. The unreactive individual does not give opponents the satisfaction of influence. They force everyone else to operate without feedback, and that absence of reaction creates imbalance. Most control strategies depend on emotional cause and effect. Say the right thing, get a response. Apply pressure, provoke movement. Escalate tone, force engagement. These tactics fail when the target remains still. Calm people do not absorb emotional energy, they let it dissipate. This frustrates aggressive personalities who rely on dominance through reaction. When nothing happens, the aggressor loses direction. They either escalate and expose insecurity or retreat and lose momentum. In both cases, control collapses. The unreactive person does not need to win the exchange. They only need to refuse participation. This alone makes them unmanageable. Not reacting also preserves decision authority. Reactive people decide under influence. Calm people decide under analysis. They allow time to pass, gather information, and choose response only if it serves outcome. This prevents others from steering the interaction. Pressure loses effectiveness when it does not produce movement. Guilt loses power when it does not change behavior. Urgency loses force when time is reclaimed. The calm person remains centered while others become increasingly invested. This asymmetry shifts control naturally. The one who waits forces the one who wants something to reveal more, concede more, or withdraw. Unmanageability is not defiance, it is independence. Calm people do not need to resist openly because they are not affected internally. They are not provoked into mistakes, not rushed into commitments, and not pushed into concessions. This makes them dangerous in environments where influence matters. You cannot steer someone who does not respond to steering. You cannot control someone who refuses to be moved emotionally. Over time, others learn to approach them cautiously or not at all. Calm becomes a boundary without words. And boundaries that do not need to be defended are the strongest kind. Their restraint creates uncertainty, and uncertainty forces respect. Restraint is not hesitation, it is control over exposure. When you restrain your reactions, your opinions, and your intentions, you remove clarity from the environment. People rely on clarity to assess threat, influence, and position. When clarity disappears, they become cautious. They do not know how far you are willing to go, what you tolerate, or when you will act. This uncertainty immediately changes behavior. People slow down. They choose words carefully. They reconsider moves they would otherwise make without thought. Respect emerges not because you demanded it, but because uncertainty made recklessness expensive. Most people give away predictability through excess expression. They explain, react, and announce positions to feel understood. In doing so, they create a map others can navigate. Restraint removes that map. When you do not confirm assumptions, others must guess. Guessing creates risk, and risk encourages restraint. People avoid crossing lines they cannot see. They do not challenge what they cannot calculate. Your restraint turns you into a variable rather than a constant. In power dynamics, variables are handled carefully. Constants are exploited. Certainty also reverses pressure. Instead of you being evaluated, others feel evaluated. They wonder what you noticed, what you interpreted, and what you might be planning. This internal questioning weakens their confidence. They adjust themselves around you to avoid missteps. You do not need to threaten or assert dominance. The absence of information does the work. People project capability onto what they cannot measure. They assume depth, preparation, and intent, even when none is visible. Restraint allows imagination to magnify your presence far beyond your actions. This is why restraint commands respect over time, not because it intimidates openly, but because it destabilizes certainty. People respect those they cannot read, because misjudging them could be costly. Loud power invites challenge. Quiet restraint discourages it. You become someone others approach with calculation rather than impulse. They weigh consequences before acting. They treat interactions with care. This is the silent advantage of calm restraint. It does not force compliance, it creates caution. And in environments governed by human nature, caution is the foundation of respect. They choose when to act instead of being forced to respond. Power belongs to the one who controls timing. Reactive people move on someone else's schedule. They respond when provoked, explain when questioned, defend when challenged. This places them permanently one step behind. Calm people operate differently. They do not allow others to dictate their tempo. They pause, observe, and decide whether action is even necessary. This refusal to respond on command removes leverage from anyone attempting control. When you choose when to act, you keep ownership of the situation. When you are forced to respond, you surrender it. Most manipulation relies on urgency. Pressure is applied to force immediate movement before thought can intervene. Calm individuals break this mechanism by slowing everything down. They do not rush to reply. They do not mirror emotion. They do not react simply to restore comfort. This frustrates those who depend on speed to dominate. The aggressor expects reaction and receives delay. That delay creates imbalance. The person seeking control must either reveal more, escalate, or retreat. All three options weaken their position. Time shifts advantage to the one who is not desperate for resolution. Choosing when to act also protects precision. Actions taken under pressure are rarely optimal. They are defensive, emotional, and short-sighted. Calm people wait until conditions favor them. They gather information. They assess risk. They let others expose priorities and weaknesses through impatience. When they finally move, their action is decisive rather than reactive. It changes the direction of the situation instead of merely answering it. This is why calm people appear slow at first and unstoppable later. They do not waste movement. Every action serves outcome. This discipline creates dominance without confrontation. Others begin to realize they cannot force engagement. They cannot provoke mistakes. They cannot rush decisions. This changes how they approach you. They become more careful, more strategic, less aggressive. You do not need to assert authority verbally. Control of timing communicates it silently. Acting by choice rather than reaction makes you unpredictable, unreadable, and difficult to manage. Over time, others stop trying to move you and start waiting for you. That shift marks the moment power has changed hands. When they finally move, resistance is already weak. Calm people do not act early because early action invites resistance. The moment you reveal movement, others organize against it. They prepare defenses, form opinions, and brace for conflict. The Machiavellian mind understands that power increases when opposition is unprepared. Calm individuals wait while others expend energy reacting to imagined threats, internal conflicts, or each other. By the time action is taken, resistance has already been drained. The move appears sudden, but it is the result of patience. Timing, not force, reduces opposition. While waiting, calm people shape the environment without being noticed. They allow tensions to rise elsewhere. They let rivals expose weaknesses through impatience. They let opponents overcommit, miscalculate, or exhaust themselves. Silence does not mean inactivity. It means preparation without announcement. Others mistake calm for passivity and grow careless. They underestimate capability and overestimate their own position. This false sense of security weakens resistance before any direct move is made. When the action finally arrives, it meets confusion instead of coordination. Delayed action also removes moral resistance. People justify opposing visible threats, not silent ones. When someone moves suddenly after a long period of restraint, opposition struggles to frame it as aggression. The action feels inevitable rather than hostile. Others hesitate because they did not prepare narratives or alliances in advance. Resistance requires clarity. Calm denies clarity until it is too late. The move is no longer something to argue against. It is something to adapt to. This hesitation fractures response and collapses unity. This is the final advantage of calm power. You do not fight strength with strength. You weaken resistance before it ever forms. When you finally move, others are already divided, tired, or uncertain. They react late and ineffectively. Your action lands cleanly because the battle was decided before it began. Calm people are dangerous not because they act often, but because when they do, the environment has already been shaped in their favor. That is Machiavelli's silent law. Victory belongs to the one who waits until resistance no longer has the strength to stand. Calm is not weakness, it is preparation. While others react, reveal, and exhaust themselves, the calm individual gathers advantage quietly. Silence removes leverage from opponents. Patience weakens resistance before conflict begins. By the time action is taken, outcomes are already decided. This is why calm people are not challenged. They are approached carefully, if at all. If you watched until the end, comment silent power, so I know who understands this mindset. Subscribe to Dark Psychology Blueprint, turn on notifications, and stay close. The next lesson breaks down how influence is built, protected, and used without noise or force.